What did we learn from the release of the first edition Monarch print run numbers? Well, on the surface, we learned that there are about 125,000 boxes printed. But we learned something a lot more important. And before the number had been released, these boxes were selling for about $155 pre-tax on TCG Player. After the number was released, they started selling for about $165 to $170, which is where they still are now 6 weeks later. And so we learned that the market did not care. But if you were to read comment sections, subreddits, discords, private groups, all of these cesspools of investing nonsense out on the internet, you would have thought that, well, basically Legend Story Studios is shutting down tomorrow. You would have thought it was the end of the game, that players were throwing their cards into the barbecue pit and incinerating them. No one was going to play Flesh and Blood anymore. No card store was going to carry it. No distributor was going to distribute it. No printer would dare even print it. And yet, here we are, 6 weeks later, maybe 8. I didn't even bother to check. But the game is still popular. People still play it. People still enjoy it. Uprising is in pre-release. The History Pack Volume 1 is in pre-release. Fab 2.0 has been announced, which is really the company plan for how they are going to manage the game going forward. And everything has gone on. Nothing is shut down. So I know some card stores did get burned. A lot of card stores are undercapitalized. This is a famously bad industry for that. They don't have enough money. They're run by enthusiasts who do not have, in some cases, a ton of business acumen. And so they got burned by Channel Fireball dumping boxes, and they're not going to buy from distributors and carry the game. Going forward, they're going to plan to just buy from Channel Fireball at the retail level when Channel Fireball dumps onto the market. And so, yeah, that's bad, but the game didn't stop being fun when this happened. And yet, all the comments, all the screeching on the internet, everybody smashing their keyboard angrily, they were all wrong. And, if you spend too much time in the comments section on investing articles, on investing websites, investing subreddits, places like this, Discord servers, you will overall get too negative of an impression of reality. And what I found in 20 years of being involved in stock investing is very, very, very rarely do you discover any type of interesting, useful, novel information in the comments section. It's almost always just a cesspool of negativity. It's people who will have a good-sized position in the stock of a really great company, and they have no nerve. They will sell the entire stake because one day the company is down 2%. It's people who you absolutely do not want to take investment advice from, who there is nothing to learn from. And so, if you were reading a bunch of stuff after the Monarch print run numbers came out, and your impression was, man, Flesh and Blood is dead, it's all over, then, well, you were in the wrong place. You were reading the wrong stuff. And, we all really have to think about where we get our information, how we assimilate it into our own mental models, and what we do with it going forward. Because this was a great example of when listening to a bunch of other people who were all just trying to be negative, who were all trying to be the most negative so they could get the most attention, they were all wrong. There's a famous saying that I love, and I've used it many times on this channel, and it's that in the short term, markets are a voting machine. They're about popularity. But in the long term, markets are a weighing machine. They are about actual value. And in much the same way, comment sections and private groups and discords and subreddits, they're all voting machines. They're all very short-term thinking because it's a lot of popularity competition to see who can get upvotes, who can get likes, who can be important right now, not who can show the most boring and successful long-term gains. And, people will like to spec on garbage cards because they can post a picture of 200 copies of it and say, hey, I tripled up. and it looks really great. They don't show you the pictures of 921 copies of some garbage card they bought that went to zero, basically. So be wary of what kind of comment section you're getting into, what kind of time you're wasting in them, because again, in my 20 years of experience in stock investing, it's almost never worth it. And so when I started this YouTube channel, that was one of my goals, was to work really hard to try to shape the comment sections on my videos and try to talk positively with people, even when I disagreed, when I thought they were wrong. Just keep it civil and be nice to people, and don't let an overall negative tone take over. And I feel like I've been pretty successful with that. There have only been like 3 people so far who have come into my videos and just made a habit of posting useless, negative nonsense video after video after video, and I've shadow banned all 3 of them. And so, if people want to disagree with me, that's great, because I'll probably learn something as long as they're nice about it. And that also keeps a lot of the kind of overreacting short-term thinking out of the comments. And I'm really happy to see that. There were very few people who, after Legend Story Studios released the Monarch print run numbers, came into the comments and were freaking out. There were a couple, but, by and large, people said, oh, yeah, 125,000 boxes, that'll look like nothing in 2 or 3 years. And so as long as you take the long view on investing and you plan to hold items for several years, then you can just forget all the short-term noise. And remember, social media is all about short-term noise. It's all about instant gratification, about being popular in the here and now. And it does not jive well with investing. To be successful investing, you have to think long term. You have to be willing to hold products. You have to be willing to do the unpopular things. When markets are going down, you have to be willing to keep buying. And, when everybody else is capitulating, they're selling at the bottom, they're protecting what I have left. You have to be willing to buy and grit your teeth, and you will make so much more money long term doing that than you will if you sell your entire position in a good company because it's down 2%. So think about those things, reflect a little bit on the kind of groups you're involved with, the kind of comments and the tone and the attitude and the advice that you're getting from everyone you're listening to, even me. Maybe I'm not the right source for you, but think about that and do it in context of this. Because 6 or 8 weeks ago, when those numbers came out, there were very, very, very few people saying, you know what, it's fine. 125,000, considering the growth of the player base and the data that LSS had available at the time, they made the right decision. And now today, as we look at the price of these boxes and what's happened since those numbers came out, people did not capitulate. People did not actually say with their wallets that the print run was too high. People said, it's actually good. I will buy a couple more. And so the price is up slightly. And ultimately, like I said, in the long term, the market is a weighing machine. And the market is weighing that this is a good product. The print run was appropriate. The number of first edition boxes that are suspected to still be in existence is all right. The game is still popular, it's still fun to play, it's still growing, it will continue to grow, and in a couple years we will look back and we will say, man, they only printed 125,000 of those. I wish I had bought at 168. Let me know what you think. Sometimes we just have to kind of rebase our expectations and think about what has worked for us in the past and what hasn't. Have a little bit of introspection. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Join me on Final Trade. Thanks a lot, everyone.